was pretty much forced on me. My dad does really well in a different industry, steel fabrication, and that's what I thought I was going to do. My dad was really tough on me. I actually could say that, it's horrible to say, but I hated him when I was 18, 19 because...
Welcome back to another episode of Intrepidus Podcast with your hosts Dan and Anthony, episode number 40, with our guest, Michael Blaier from Austria Appliances. Welcome, Mikey.
Thank you for having me.
No, thanks for coming on, Mikey. So tell us a little about Austria Appliances. We haven't had anyone in the appliance space. So tell us a little bit about what you do.
So Austria Appliance is a whole home service company. We work on all makes and models, specialize in high end, cover most of central New Jersey, a little bits of Ocean, and more north Millburn and Short Hills area. But yeah, we specialize in repairs. We don't do any sales. We don't really do maintenance. It's really strictly repairs.
So what is the most common call you get?
It used to be refrigerators being like the most important. Now it's dishwashers. It's like, hey, dishwasher isn't working, not draining, not doing that. That seems to be like the number one right now.
So you said high-end appliances. What is exactly a high-end appliance?
Built in, those big 60-inch ranges, Wolf, Viking, Sub-Zero, Le Cornu. That is, definitely my bread and butter. That's what I would consider, a high-end appliance.
So, is there a problem like when you go to service something? What's the holdback with parts for things? Is there a long wait time? I know, back in the day, maybe I had to fix my wash machine, and it took multiple weeks to get a part in. How does that affect your business?
So, COVID started it, and then COVID became an excuse. They started using the manufacturing as an excuse. They started using, the shipping as an excuse. It's more quality control now. It's not so much not being able to get parts anymore. It's stuff coming in bad or broken. Also brands like, Samsung might have 20 different ice makers for 5 different machines. Fridge, freezer, ice maker, diagrams are broken. You can't really find stuff out. But that really seems to be the problem now is there's just too many parts for a small amount of machines and quality control.
So how did you start? Like, how did the inception of this whole appliance world for you start?
It was pretty much forced on me. My dad does really well in a different industry, steel fabrication, and that's what I thought I was going to do. So I graduated high school. The day after, he dropped me off. Didn't have any breaks. It was right to work. Dropped off at Tony's Appliance in Marlboro. Great guy. My mentor. Really taught me everything. Hated it at first. Didn't like it. Thought it was the worst work. Hated customer service. Hated dealing with people. I went home crying every day. I wasn't happy. But my dad was really tough on me. I actually could say that, it's horrible to say, but I hated him when I was 18, 19 because he was trying to be so hard on me to make my own and not have to ride the coattails of him. If I came home before 3:30, get out of the house. Don't come home until I go to sleep. So I did. I went back to the office, even if I didn't do anything, just Netflix. That's what I did, the first year, just so I wasn't home. And, after a couple of years of proving to, my dad that this is what I want to do and, learning it and really understanding, he took a chance and we ended up buying a business.
Nice.
Yeah, so, your dad, I know your family for about 20 years,
yeah,
right?
Easily.
So, long time. I remember when we were quite young. But, your dad's a steel mogul, exceptionally successful. Your sister's a doctor. Your brother is partners in a law firm.
Yeah.
You have your own company now. The question is, did that drive you to where you are today? And did you feel like an immense amount of stress coming up to or trying to figure out exactly where or who you want to be?
I wouldn't call it stress, right? When I was younger, I assumed that I was going to have everything because I was living at home. And then, I met my girlfriend at the time, who's my wife now. And then, when you get more responsibility, right? You want to get married, you get engaged and, buy a house. That's when it really started to click. So, it took me 2 years, maybe 3 years of really being in the industry to know, hey, I want to be successful. I want to be the best appliance repair technician and then company now that I can be because there's always room for the best. You dream big, big things will happen. And, that's my focus now. So, once I started getting responsibility and it wasn't just living at home and, dad and mom paying for everything. Once I had to, pay for my car and, pay for myself to go out to eat and, I didn't rely on my parents that's when it really clicked that like, hey, like I have to make my own meat over here. Like my parents aren't gonna do it forever.
I give your dad a lot of respect for not handing over the keys to you, your brother, your sister, and making you guys all go out there and do your own thing. I do the same thing with my kids. You know, like no matter how hard I work, it's me working, and you got to learn it on your own. And I think you can appreciate it a lot more now than you probably know people that you grew up with where, you know, they were in a different situation. Maybe mom and dad bought them their first house and bought their cars and, you know, support them still financially based on family-owned businesses. But I think when you see everything that your dad built and the reason why he built it was to show you guys what's possible. And, you know, you thought differently, like, all right, good. You know, I'm going to be part of Pops' business. And, you know, he's just going to kind of like, you know, let me come behind his coattails. And he's like, all right, kid, you know, you're out on your own. You're like, what the fuck, Dad?
It's true.
You know, so at the end of the day, I mean, there's a lot of respect there. And what has that done to you based on what you thought was going to happen compared to what did happen? What kind of man did that make you? And what kind of business person did that transition you into?
So I use the phrase real world experience when I talk to a lot of people, like, you know, my younger cousins that work with me, friends, you know, not having that real world experience of understanding, like, you know, what happens, like how things happen, you know, like, for instance, when I was working for my first boss, he was going through a hard time. I didn't get paid for 10 weeks. I wanted to quit. Every day I wanted to quit. I wasn't getting paid. My dad wouldn't let me quit, though. He wouldn't. And he said, you're going to learn everything you can learn because knowledge is worth more than money at that time. And it paid off. I stayed with him for 10 weeks. Wasn't getting paid. But after that, I really absorbed so much. And I learned, you know, hey, it's not always about the dollar. It's about the knowledge. And from that knowledge, it grew me to where I am today.
Well,
no shit. So what... why appliances? I mean, look, you jumped into this, you bought the business, you saw the opportunity.
Yeah.
You know what I want to talk about is your employees, because 99% of them are family.
All
of them, 100% are family.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about the pros and cons of that before we started recording today. For the audience, you know, what is the hardest thing about working with family?
Working with family, the hardest part.
he's trying to be candid.
Yeah, I'm trying. You know what? I'm trying to be nice, but you know, anything I'm going to say has been said already to them. You know what it is I'm not that much older than either of my cousins. Steve, my partner, is a lot older than me. I respect him. I listen to him. We're partners, but he has a lot more experience in this industry. He's been doing this for 50, you know, maybe 45 years. So he's been in it a lot. So when he says something, I listen because he has experience. Even though I'm only 2 years older than my younger cousin Chase, and I'm 7 years older than Josh, might not be a big gap, but in that 2 years that I went working for other people and learning, I have so much more experience. You know, I say daddy's ball. I didn't play daddy's ball. I didn't work for my dad. I worked for someone else, multiple people. So I have that experience. So when I give advice or I try to explain something, maybe sometimes I'm a little rough and, you know, I'm not as politically correct as I should be because it is family and I might say mean things. I'm not wrong with what I'm saying, and not taking my advice and not listening, you know, that's probably one of the biggest issues that we have working with family. And, you know, family takes advantage of family, whether they realize or not. You know, we get taken advantage of a little bit.
Oh, 100%. And no matter what you say, they'll never admit it. No. And you're always the one who's wrong. And oh, blame me. Oh, blame that. My brother's been working with me for 25 years, and it's fucking difficult, dude.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like they become very complacent. They become very comfortable, and I feel like, you know, whether they want to admit it or not, your cousins, my brother, whoever, you know, they have an expectation of like that they're entitled to certain things. And if you look at the way like someone who's not in your family would work compared to someone who in your family would work, is like someone are driving themselves for a purpose, for a mission, to be the example, to get, you know, be result driven when, you know, a lot of times your family's just there and like, hey, I show up, you know, like, let me get it. You know, I deserve this, I deserve that. And a lot of times they don't see it because they've put themselves in this world and they've adapted to this world and they've conditionally like made their brain think like this is the way things are supposed to be. And no matter how much we try to tell them, it's like being in a bad relationship. Like people on the outside see it, but when you're on the inside, you don't see it. But like other people pointed out, like, what's going on in the business, but they'll never, ever, ever admit to what they do. And the one thing that you have to be understanding about is that you will never get 110% out of them ever just because they're family.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's 100% true. I think I agree with you.
Unless they're partners, but if they work for you, I don't think so.
I think that it also really depends on the family dynamic. And so, for example, me and my brother, you've met my brother. You have, we're extremely competitive with each other. I mean, so much so it's disgusting. However, because of that extremely competitive attitude, him and I are the same in the way that we will deprive ourselves of all the luxuries in life just to be better than the other brother. And we have done that several times in the past, and he's actually exceptionally successful in what he does, as am I. But we have both endured a ton of trial, I guess you could say, in order to be better than each other in certain things.
But you're not in the same business, and you're not employing your brother. He's not employing you.
No, I agree. But I know that I think that would transfer. So if we, if I worked for him or he worked for me, I think that just because of that, fear of letting somebody down and not being better than the next person on that roster, being that, we're family and we should probably be on that level is enough to get us to be the absolute best that we could possibly be.
If you say so. I love disagreeing with you, so I'll disagree with you.
I think it's very rare though. I don't think it's common at all.
When one guy has the upper hand and holds the keys to the castle, the thought process is different. Both of you hold the keys to your own castle, so your thought process is the same. That's why you're competitive. Now, if you had the upper hand, you're going to have a different way of things being dictated, things being represented, and things being transferred because you're now the upper, and so-and-so may feel like they deserve this, or you're below him, and you may feel like you deserve this because, Anthony's done this, Anthony does that. Because at the end of the day, when you're the business owner, like, you put in more hours, you do more things, you have bigger rewards, right? But at the end of the day, when you look at it, he may not have that, or you may not have that. So that's where it comes into like, oh, must be nice. Like, I work so hard for Anthony and he can have this and he can go here, right? So that's what starts to happen.
Now, do you think that's just with family or all businesses?
No, I think it's more with family because you have like significant others that are tied to your family members, and like, oh, like let's say your cousins, like you might go on vacation somewhere nice, or your wife might drive a nice car. Oh, look, it's nice that, you work so hard, and look what Mikey's wife's driving because of you. Like, these are the fucking conversations that happen.
I agree with
doors.
that. I agree
now,
with that.
It has
sure.
because I won't say I'm not materialistic. I like nice things. Now that I'm married and buying a house, I can't have them now. I know now I have more priorities, but a couple of years ago, I worked really hard, had a really good year. I said, you know what? It's my 1 year anniversary. I'm going to buy myself a nice watch. So I did. And the comment ended up being, oh, he could buy that watch because I'm working so hard and I'm working this. And it was said. So I do agree with you. That is the mindset. When people think that you're, I guess, benefiting off their hard work, especially family, they get a little upset by it. It definitely has been mentioned before, and you got to nip it in the ass because, numbers don't lie. In my industry, numbers don't lie. I could pull up numbers and say, dude, I brought in $100,000 off of 20 calls.
Yeah.
You brought $100,000 off of 200 calls. Like, there's a big difference.
The crazy thing is you shouldn't have to justify that.
Never.
Exactly.
Right? Should not have to sit there and say, oh, well, this is how much that I brought into the company. It's like, no, I put my ass on the line. I gave up everything. I ate shit for the first 2 years. I know you did. Because you and I talked regularly at that
absolutely.
time. You're like, I don't fucking know what to do. So, the answer to that is, oh, it must be nice. Damn right it's fucking nice.
Yeah.
Well, here's the reality. Today's Monday. I worked last night till 11 o'clock at night. I know you were working last night.
Yep.
You worked yesterday,
have to.
right? So at the end of the day, now trying to get an employee to do that, or someone who works for you, even if they're family, it's like, because they don't realize like that there's so many operating parts. And if we don't do the things that we do behind the scenes, shit doesn't happen.
100%.
And this whole ship operates because of us and the sacrifice that we make, the stress that we take on. Like, dude, they walk out the door when the day's over.
It's gone.
It's fucking gone. We're like sitting there like,
Off the
what
brain.
fuck? what I mean? Like, this is going on. You could be out to dinner and you're out to dinner with 6 people and you're not even paying attention to what anyone's saying because you're just thinking about this bullshit that's about to happen or that's happening right now, right? They don't have to worry about that shit.
I envy that so much. I just had the conversation recently. It's like, I wish that for like 2 weeks, I could go home and just forget everything. Go spend the weekend going fucking to the nurseries looking for trees and just forget everything. But that's just not the case. My girl the other day goes, "It's Saturday. Why are you stressing?" It's like, it's just another day.
Yeah, same day. It's the same day. It's just like a Monday. Like you and I just went to Aruba. We both came back, and it's like, yeah, we can go away. But as soon as you come back, like no matter how good people are, you still got fucking
There's always
chaos
something.
the minute you come back.
My partner, I'm testing. He handles a lot of bullshit. He does. Like he's in the office. He picks up the phones every call. I'd say 90% he answers, and then he relies on me for the other 10, which is fine. I drive a lot, but yeah, when I go away, it doesn't matter how clean I might leave it. I come back to fucking disasters.
Always.
Yeah, I went to Portugal for a month last year. My wife's great grandmother was turning 99, so we went. It was starting like it was slow season, going to busy, no problem. But like I had to rely on like, okay, you do the schedule, you just listen, right? So my two cousins, and I ended up doing the schedule. I was doing schedule at like fucking 3:00 in the morning in Portugal to make sure that my ship was running halfway smooth, to make sure we weren't going under because nothing was being done right. And like my partner, there's only so much he can actually do, right? He's trusting that they're doing the right thing because, when I'm not there, it's like a pillar. You need 4 pillars, and if one pillar's not there, everything starts to rock and rattle.
So I realized it's like a happy medium, but it's both tastefully disastrous in a sense where I've went away and I've shut the company down. And the minute I come back, trying to get these fucking people to start back up again, it's like, oh my God, it takes a whole nother week for that. Or you go away, and by the second day you're gone, it's like fucking chaos. And you're like, dude, I can't even enjoy myself. You can't get off the phone and you can't do anything because this is business ownership. And what's crazy is like people out there like, oh, you're so lucky, must be nice. Like, fuck you, man. Like, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, I wish I could just like go home at 4:30 and sit on the couch and do nothing. Well, actually, I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying, I wish I had the ability to just like kind of put it behind the office door and forget about it. But they don't realize the life we live. And so many people think, like, oh, these guys are so lucky. Like you talked about the watch, the this, the that, like we have to buy things to expense them so we don't have to pay taxes, number one. Number two, like we don't want to pay high bills. We're broke at a higher level. You know what I'm saying? Like we're just as broke as you. Maybe our mindset's not broke like that, but we're broke at a higher level. But we have to do things that you're never willing to do.
Yeah.
And they're never, ever going to see past that because they have like tunnel vision. Like they see the glory, they see the light, but they don't see the fight on the way to the light.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. My, weekends to me, there is no weekends. Like if I have to work Saturday, I got to work Saturday. If I got to work Sunday, just got to work. It's another day. Unless that phone doesn't ring, which stresses me out, I start looking up my Google. I start checking to see if everything's right.
Yeah.
So, there's no happy medium because even when, the phone doesn't ring, and some people are like, oh, thank God it's so busy. With me, I'm like, oh, shit, is something wrong? Like, did someone's bad Google review, screw up my shit? Or, did my, my Google page get taken off? Like, what's going on? So there is no relaxing. It's 7 days a week, 24/7, and, my guys aren't, they work hard. They do. I'm not going to say they don't work hard, but, Saturdays, limited. Sundays, no way. Don't even ask me.
Yeah.
And that's a difference.
How do you deal with a bad Google review?
So I used to be psychotic over it because we held the 5.0 up until like 250 reviews. So like 4 years, 5.0. And I was proud of it. Really proud. So like if I saw a bad review come in and like, let's say it was an anonymous name, sometimes they give you clues. And whether it's the quotation, a price, I'll start digging into it. I mean, whether it's going through Facebook pages and assuming that it was from someone, looking at, where their other reviews are. So if it's all Old Bridge, go on the Old Bridge page, start typing in things to find the person, figure out who it is, call them and be like, hey, like, what's going on? Like, what happened? That was in the beginning. Now I use it as a learning experience because some customers are batshit crazy and, they just want the world to burn. And then some other people have a legit gripe, whether it's my fault, Josh or Chase's fault, Steve's fault, and we learn from it, I just respond. I try to respond very politely and, business-like. I don't try to fight anymore. The guy that owned Arctic Air he might not even know, has been a big help with me, like kind of a mentor in this industry because he grew crazy. Went from just heating and air to everything, plumbing, electric. So one day I had a bad review and I commented, "Oh, you're an asshole. You're a piece of shit." And I shared it on my Facebook and I was proud of it. And he messaged me. He's like, "Mike, listen, you don't want these people to get underneath your skin. It's a bad look. Like, take it down. Just eat it, take it on the chin, and just move on. Like, he's not going to take down your company."
Yeah.
And after that, I really listened to him and I started to respond calmly. And I just understand that some people are just pricks and some people are dicks, but you got to do what you got to do.
I think it's good to have not a 5.0 because then it looks too perfect.
Yeah, it's authentic.
And it really shows people out there. And, I just did that training for 3 days, and something that they reminded me about was like 10% of your customers are your raving fans, right? 60% of your customers are just going to be non-repeat customers and are just going to do what they're going to do. Then the other 30% are fucking scumbags.
Yeah.
And we have to live with the fact that those scumbags are out there, and no matter what you do, even if you did the job for free because you didn't want to hear their mouth, they're still going to go out there and talk shit because that's all they want to do. Like if you talk about those Facebook pages, you can go on there and see like people just love fucking bashing people.
Yeah.
The way this guy drove, this kid driving his bicycle and all this bullshit. Like people live on that shit.
Yep.
But what's okay about that is to understand that like the 10% that are referring you, that's where you're getting most of your business. The other ones who are going to be your customers just one time, that's okay. And the other people just live in a miserable part of their life. And so what I do is I don't even reply to them and I go, "Hey, listen, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, I realize that it's probably a competitor writing it or like a subcontractor will write, like, we didn't get paid." And I want to be like, "Yeah, did you see the fucking shitty work you did? And I had to pay somebody else to fix it." But I'm not here to battle with you.
Yeah.
People know based on the good stuff, and people actually really do read the good reviews.
They do.
And it's the people who are negative that want to read the negative reviews.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I go to both. I read a little bit of both, right? I find that happy medium in the 3-star, the 3 to 4 star. It's like those guys are probably the most honest.
Yeah.
And they had the most like realistic experience that you expect to
You can read some of mine. I mean, two people had a legit gripe. I was, going through some health issues beginning of the year. I kind of forgot about them, so they were a little upset. I knew I wasn't gonna get the 5-star after. But will they call me back now after I took care of it? Maybe. But do I wish they didn't post it? Hell yeah, I did. But you know what? After I realized, you see the original review and then the edit. It makes us actually look good. Like we care. We really do care about these people, unless you just make me not give a shit about you anymore.
So how difficult was it to hire your first employee?
So, because I didn't know. I had no experience being a boss because it was just me. It was just me and Steve. So I didn't know what it was to have employees. So when I was actually excited at first, like, hey, I'm going to put another truck on the road. I thought I was going to make a lot more money. I can make it just like me.
You realize how much one truck costs you.
Yeah. And then you get the other truck and, what? He looked down at his phone. He smashed the back of some lady's truck. Oh. And now now do you want to go through insurance? Or you want to pay out of pocket? And then, he scratched up someone's floor. So, it was tough in the beginning. Like I really contemplated just going back down to myself. And I pushed and pushed and pushed and really like try to put a lot of time into him. And it's paying off now 2 years later, but like a lot of like how many times I had to go to court, virtual court, because he was texting and driving, and now they find out, you know what, your registration is a day late, and I'm like, well, I had no idea, I didn't get papers, but now I got to go to court for that shit. Or the customer's like, he did a good job, but my house was left filthy, and we never had a reputation for that. It was always like being punctual, polite, clean. So like it was tough, when your reputation starts to dwindle, and even if it's one customer, it feels like it's 100 coming at you every time. So it was tough. Having trust into someone to do everything you did is tough, and it doesn't. I learned that he's never gonna be me, but I have to make him the best him that he can be.
The hardest thing to do is teach your etiquette. Teach what you know, and I think one of the biggest things in business, and we talk about it a lot, is a lot of people are so conceited where they're like, oh, what's one of your employees' names? Like
Josh.
Josh?
Yeah, Josh Chase. Yeah.
So I wish Josh was like me. Why can't Chase be like me? If I could just hire another me. Have you ever say that?
Yeah, all the time.
It's kind of ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like that makes that you got an ego, to the size like you're the greatest. But you have to realize like you've been through so much, you've done so much, and you have ownership.
Yeah.
So one thing that we always have to understand is like no matter who we hire, like this is not the baby boomers. The baby boomers used to work harder than the owners. Like it's not like that anymore. People are here for a season, not for a long time. And they're never going to put in what we expect. So we have to inspect what we expect. And I think so many business owners, even like top employees like that are in leadership roles, oh, why can't we find another one of me? Like, you got some faults, motherfucker. You know what I mean? We all do. I think it's just about finding the people who are good at the things that you're not good at, and you maximizing what you're good at and letting them do what they're good at, you know?
Yeah, that and fitting into the culture and being willing and able, right? I remember someone drew a diagram for me once, split into 4 boxes. It was willing and able, willing and unable, unwilling and able, unwilling and unable, right? And it's like, where in this box is this person? Because there's 2 of those boxes that you could work with, and then 2 of those boxes that'll never work no matter what you try to do. That's the thing about hiring family, right? Like, how exactly do you manage that when they do something wrong, or you need them to kind of step it up?
It gets awkward sometimes, you know, because like with what I do, right? I do a lot of high end. That's my specialty. So I'm selling Ferraris. They're selling Toyotas. So to compare numbers, and I learned this recently from my partner, it's wrong, right? I can't show them my numbers. Say, hey guys, like I'm averaging $600 a call. You guys are only averaging 150. Like, what the fuck? You can't do that. So it's a different way of approaching it, right? It's definitely difficult. You know, on one hand, you know, my younger cousin Josh, love him to death, but you know, he doesn't want to work to live. He wants to just, you know, live to work. He wants to just work, go home. He's young. He's 20 years old. Young. He just wants to chill and do his thing. But he's a hard ass worker. If I give him 15 calls, he'll bitch at me all morning. But he'll do the 15 calls. He'll work until 8 o'clock at night. You know, 6 days a week. Doesn't care. Chasing on the other hand, I love him to death. And everything I'm saying now is something I've said to him. It's, you know, it's hard, right? I'm his dad's partner. You know, he's not his dad's partner. So if it was the other way around, I'd probably feel the same exact way. If you were my dad's partner, Anthony, I'd be upset, you know, if I was working for you guys. And I would be. So when you have conversations, it's hard because you're like on eggshells because you don't know what to say. Because on the one hand, my partner's now in the middle because he's my partner, but he's also his dad. So what do? You know, you have to like really like, it's eggshell and try to motivate certain ways, and it's trying to keep someone consistent. And some people need to be reassured all the time. Like, hey, dude, like, you know, your dad's my partner. Like, dad's 60 years old. Who knows? Maybe in 10 years, you know, maybe you'll step in, but like you have to earn it. You know, nothing's given. It's not like the 18th century where, you know, the firstborn son had to keep to everything. It's not like that anymore. Smart people don't just give their shit to their kids. You know, they want to make sure that their investment and their time is taken care of. You know, they're not just going to hand it over to someone that's going to fucking bring it to the ground. And that's how it is. So it's awkward. It's like I'm in a position where it's one of my closest cousins. We have a great relationship outside of work. We go out together all the time. But on the other hand, you know, when you're not pulling your weight and you expect more, it's difficult. You know, it pulls strings. And, you know, I'm a sensitive person, so in my heart, it's like, what do? Do I eat it? Do I say something? It's tough because I love him. I really do, but it's hard.
Do you feel like you're often walking on eggshells when you have to have a tough conversation?
Yeah, and it is because...
Do you think that's fair to you?
No. And I'm not 100% right. Sometimes I say shit and it's out of character and I shouldn't say it. And I'm lucky that we're family, or I'd probably have like, you know, the Department of Labor at my front door. But no, it's tough. It definitely is tough. It's hard.
Yeah, I've been doing it for 26 years, bro. I get it. You know, the one thing that, you know, you have to understand though is that you can groom him as much as you want, but until he wants it and until he's actually gonna, you know, be the one to step up to do it. You know, we want so many people to do things. Like even my brother, like I've wanted so many things for him, but he's just content in this place, making this money. And then, you know, like if I offered him more opportunities, it's like he forgets about, hey, you have to do these things first, then you can capitalize on this. It's like, oh, I can capitalize on this, but let's forget about that. Like you have to realize that these people step into their roles. And me and my brother, unfortunately, don't have a good relationship outside of work. He works for me, and we don't spend any time together outside of work, whether it's, you know, families butting heads or whatever. You know, it is what it is. But we just, for a long time when we were younger, we hung out. And then, you know, a few years back, you know, we hung out a little bit. But, you know, we don't spend much time together outside of work. You know, if we need something from each other, we'll call each other. But, you know, I think that because we've worked together for 26 years, it's actually like taken us to a point where we just work together.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
mean, me and Chase didn't talk to each other for about 2 years in the beginning because we just couldn't find a way to work together. And like, you know, at the time you don't think anything of it because 2 years flies. But when you look back at it and like think about how much you missed, it sucks. And he has really good qualities. Like his imagination and his mind moves. Like when it gets slow, he thinks of stuff to try to get busy. Or when, maybe, he doesn't like a certain way that something's being ran, he might have a good idea, but it's the way that he goes about it that it comes off nasty and might come off like, I don't want to say dumb, but like if you're going to come to the table, make sure you come in with facts and you come in with something that's valuable to the company, not something that's valuable to you,
Yeah.
If you had to do it again, might be a tough question. If you had to do it again and you started at zero, it was just you in the truck and you were making that decision to bring on more technicians. If you had to do it again, would you rehire family or would you go the other route?
Knowing what I know now, I would still hire family. And honestly, because I even though we might butt heads and we might have disagreements and, people can't see eye to eye and, the respect kind of is on it's not 100% there. I could trust all of them. And having trust in family, like I don't have to worry about stealing. I don't have to worry about side work. I nothing like that. Like I know, like if something happened, like they would be there. I might get a fucking headache getting there, but they would be there. Like that's one thing. Like I could trust them 100%. No, because you know what? The potential, like the light at the end of the tunnel, sometimes it gets smaller, but overall it's still there. It's just getting them to be the best that they can be. And once they're there, maybe Chase won't ever work on a high-end unit or Josh might never, put in a compressor for a Sub-Zero.
Yeah.
But as long as they're the best technicians that they could possibly be and they know that and they go 100% at that, yeah, they'll be fine. It's just, when you bring other people in, you got to worry about side work, stealing, and all that with family. Right now, at least it's never happened. Or I've never called them, but I've never even thought about it. There's no question. Like, I could trust them, and you have to have trust in business, 100%.
What's the vision that you have for this company? Like, what if we look forward 5 years from now? Like, what are you trying to forecast for you?
Once I get my foundation set, right? Once I can get the foundation set, I'm able to put some stories on. I want to be the biggest appliance company. We don't do any warranty work, and I like it. I'm proud of that because not a lot of companies can say that they do 30 to 40 calls a day, and in the busy season, 50 to 60, and not one of them is a warranty company. Not one of them is a net 30. We get paid on the spot. I want to be the biggest in the state. I mean, we just opened up North Jersey. We were only Monmouth County. Now we're going all the way up to like Short Hills area, and then soon Alpine. I want to keep on growing, and you have to have trust, and that's where I want to be. Once my foundation's set, that I would love to just keep on growing and just go all over the state. I don't care if it's Alpine, all the way down to Cape May. I want to be all over.
I think you're building the foundation now, and you just got to just start going after it, brick after brick, instead of waiting for the perfect time. Just go after it. I mean, look what you've built now. How many trucks you have on the road now? How many people you have working for you? Like, there's never going to be a perfect time, and if you wait for that opportunity, someone else is going to come grab it. So I would just kind of create the roadmap now. Project yourself out 5 years. What's it going to take? What's it going to take to get, a year of progress, 2 years of progress, 3 years of progress, and just start working day in and day out to start achieving minimal goals and taking little steps to get there versus waiting for the time for it to be right. Because what I've often seen in business from people I coach, from people I'm friends with, from people I know, is that you wait too long and someone else capitalizes on the opportunity. You know? Especially with the way social media is going and the way the world's going, and these Facebook referral groups. Like, you probably got a lot of stuff from that. So just imagine like another town, another county, another bunch of 10, 15 pages, per quarter, per half a year. Now you're in this area. It's just going to be because you showed up. It's not because you waited. That's just my advice.
I can't even tell you how many times I've called this guy, like, let's just blow this thing up, bro. Let's see. From where you're at now, we should have 25 trucks on the road. We could do it in like 6 months. And he's like, really? Like, yes, we could do it. You want to? Nah, it's a little bit crazy. It's like, okay, yeah. Well, building the foundation will make you feel a little bit better about, building up, because you do got to build wide and then you build up.
So my ideal vision, right? I have Steve, my partner, me on the road, Chase and Josh, and my cousins. Ideally, I wanted them to be pillars, right? I know they don't have skin in the game, right? They don't own my company, and having skin in the game is a big thing, right? They want to feel important, but like right now, I have Josh in North Jersey. I have him taking care of that area, and even if it's slow, he does calls here. But I want him to make his name up there, so I can start building, and maybe, hey, who knows? Maybe I'll open up another location there. Maybe do a store, have appliances being sold out of it, and then that's Josh's area. Josh can expand. He wants to hire someone. Let him hire. He needs to get the experience. That's my ideal vision for Chase as well. I'm in Monmouth County now, right? I was living in East Brunswick for a little bit. Didn't like it. I'm moving back to Marlboro. So this is like my home base. I want to stay in this area. So now Chase, it's like finding a spot for him. It's finding a location for him. But once you have that trust and you have the knowledge that you're able to deal with other people, then you can start growing. So once I have my family in check, and may never happen, maybe I am going to have to look at outside ways to get that done and maybe hire someone who's not family to do it. But once I'm able to do that, then growth will definitely come in this industry.
One bit of advice is don't give up equity. Call me when you want to decide how to structure it to make sure that they still have skin in the game without giving up equity, because that is the last thing that you want to do.
Yeah, no, 100%.
I'm involved with way too many rooms, or I'm into way too many rooms where that's a topic of conversation.
Too many hands
I
in the
have
pot.
a 5% owner. I have a 7% owner. What do I do to get them out the door? Because as soon as they get that little golden bar in their hand, they're like, oh, this is heavy. I can just hold on to this.
Yeah.
So what I would suggest as a possible idea is start trying to expand in these markets now, hire other people, and create competitive advantages between Josh and Chase and these new guys. And I think that will make these guys step up in the game, because right now they're just in the motions. They're doing what they're doing day in and day out. But if you hire two outside guys that aren't family, and you kind of give these guys perks like, hey, I'm opening up an area. Here's what I'm looking at, and don't tell your old employees what you're doing with your new employees. Don't tell your new employees what you're doing with your old employees. Just create a competitive way, and then maybe you do like a staff meeting, once a month or once every couple weeks, and you just kind of put things on a board. And when people have competitive opportunities, they tend to work harder, and they see a bigger opportunity and a bigger picture than just showing up every day and going through the motions. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, we have a company Scoreboard, and you've quickly realized, unfortunately, not everyone is competitive, and that doesn't work for everybody. But what you do realize is the people that you want to promote and you want to advance, because those are the super competitive people, and they see their name on the board and they're like, I'm not number one, I'm going to get there. I need to figure out how. And then you figure out that those guys are the leaders, and they'll get everybody to follow right behind you. So talk to us a little bit about Google Ads, because you talked about it earlier. You said, you figured it out.
Yeah.
You figured out the money printing machine. In the beginning, you were petrified to put in $500, and now you're at
$20,000.
$20,000
a month.
Tell us a little bit about that progression, what got you into it, and how do you figure it all out?
So when we first bought the business, there was no online presence, and then you hooked me up with Tom. He started kind of going for SEO and pay-per-click and this and that, and some things work for some industries, some things don't. So when Google Guarantee became a big thing, we tried it. We started off with like a $500 a week budget, and we were like shitting our pants. Like, that was a lot of money at the time.
Yeah.
And we were freaking out. And then, because it was cheap, it was like $10 a call, but most of the time it was good. And then Google kept on going up and up. So as it's going up, we started raising our budget. But once we realized that, you know what, every time that phone rings, it's at that time the average ticket was $275. So every time that phone rang, opportunity to capitalize on $275. So you're spending $10 to get $275. Now it's like $50 a call. So what do? I raised my budget. Originally I raised it from $500 to $25. Then I doubled it to $5. Now we're at $10,000 a week. It doesn't matter. Like I can make my thing unlimited. I don't care anymore. The more you spend, the more you're supposed to make and capitalize on it. I mean, I tell everyone, you're gonna get what you spend. If you only spend $500, you ain't gonna get anything. Not anymore. You gotta spend it. $20,000. You get one customer. They tell 5 of their friends. It pays for itself right there. Doesn't matter. Yeah. So you just gotta do it. People can't be scared. They can't. I was scared. And when I went from, and it goes by revenue. 2019, I probably was doing $5,000 a month. Now we're doing $80,000 to $120,000 a month, and a lot of it is Google. A lot of it, I would say, half my business is Google Ads and Google Guarantee.
And those are customers for life, right?
Yeah.
So those are lifetime customers. Anything else happens in their home, the fridge broke the first time, the dishwasher breaks the second time, the washing machine breaks the third time, they're calling you.
I got some customers that spent $50,000 with me in 5-6 years. 50, and you can't even imagine you have 50,000 appliances. Some of them doing. You get good customers from Google. You can expand. You don't need to be in Short Hills anymore. You could just put the zip code in, and your ads come up there. And the more money you spend keeps you at the top. I would say we're probably always at the top, 1 or 2 always. I will not let myself go underneath that.
So being in business, what kind of fears do you have, like looking forward, and what kind of things like run through your head daily, or maybe don't let you rest at night? Like, what fucks you up?
The industry definitely changes, right? Appliances are you can get a washer for $500. So when I go out there and say it's going to cost you $300 to fix, you're contemplating it. Are you really going to fix it? So it's the change in the industry. I'm fortunate that I know how to work on high end. So if I tell someone with a Sub-Zero refrigerator, hey, your compressor's shot, it's going to cost you $2,700 to fix, they're not going to be jumping to buy a new Sub-Zero because they're 12 to 25 grand now. So I have the luxury of that. My fear right now is it's having employees that are going to be able to also do that, because high end's the goal. I do it. It's the high end's the mashed potatoes. It's the real bulk of your meal. All the other stuff is like the gravy, whatever. It goes on top. But the bulk of this industry has to be high end. The way it is, appliances are just being made shittier and cheaper. And these companies they make their parts so expensive. To charge, LG, perfect example. They had a pump for their washers that was $30. You could charge, because of the work, $389 for it. So you're making a huge profit on a 30-minute job. Now, pump's like $190. Totally changed it. So, $190 pump, that job has to be $489 to $559 just to make it even worth it. And when you tell someone with an $800 machine, hey, it's going to cost $500 to fix, unless it's stacked with a dryer on top, 90% of the time they're going to replace it. But Sub-Zero and Wolf, they're not replacing those machines. So, yeah, the trajectory and where this industry is going scares me. The stuff that's happening with the tariffs is a great thing for me. I love it. I love when I see appliances going up 30%. It's good for me. Not good for the consumer, but for me, it's awesome.
The parts still go up with the
yes and no
with the unit though.
There's ways around that. Like we don't use a lot of aftermarket parts. You can on high end, but like a part that's off brand for a washing machine, it's the same part. Unless you really get like the cheap shit ones off Amazon, it's all the same. Sometimes they're even better made than then it's half the cost.
What's your ratio like? High-end customer to average customer, like 1 to 5, 1 to 3? Like, how many high-end customers would it take you to get a low-end customer to pay for that high-end customer?
So we just did the numbers last week. So Chase and Josh did 40 calls a piece each, averaging between 8,000. I think Josh, I think it was like 5,000-6,000 with Chase. I did 8,000 on 7 calls. So 7 to 40. It could be. I mean, sometimes there's weeks where, I'll do 10 calls and bring in 15 grand. So there's a lot. There's a lot. That's what I'm saying. Toyotas to Ferraris. It's a big difference. So for me, like, I could do 6 calls and make the same amount as they're doing in 40. You talk about a whole year. I did a quarter of their calls and I brought in more money than both of them.
It's all about the high end then.
Yeah.
Speaking of high end, all right, before we kick off and sign off here, something that everyone in the world will probably relate to. Give us your top 3 appliance manufacturers and why.
Top 3. As a company overall, Sub-Zero Wolf.
Okay.
Quality is always there. They give a good warranty. Parts are usually reasonable. So for cooking, refrigeration, if you have a good budget, definitely that. Washers, dryers, the normal household appliances, it's pretty much all the same now. But if I had to pick a company, either Whirlpool or LG, I would stay away from everything else. Just because if you need a repair, it's usually reasonable. Parts easy to get. But, if no budget, Sub-Zero and Wolf. That's just my favorite. If, budget's on the line, Whirlpool, KitchenAid brand, LG brand, you really can't go wrong with those.
Fair enough. All right. So if anyone has any of those appliances and they need a repair or they have questions, where can they find you?
You can reach us. Honestly, my office is probably the best way. It rings into my phone, rings into my partner's phone. Email, Instagram.
What's your Instagram?
Instagram is Astri_appliance.
Okay. Facebook?
Facebook is Astri Appliance Service. And then website is, we have 2. So it's going to be njappliancerepair.com. And then we have astriapplianceservice.com that you'll be able to reach me at. Phone number 732-679-5500. Best way to get in contact with us.
Awesome.
All right. Well, listen, it was a pleasure having you out here.
I appreciate you guys having me.
And we'll make sure that we have all your information on the caption here so people can find you. Best appliance guy here in New Jersey.
I appreciate it.
Soon to be the biggest. And guys, if you're not following us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, go ahead and do so.
Give us a follow. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.